I'm actually glad the president finally said it. As you said, I've been covering these issues, and I do cover them, and I get emotional about them because it's important to me as a young black man. And I talk about these things, get a lot of criticism for them, but the president finally said something that has been the elephant in the room for a long time, and especially among African Americans. Yes, we know there's institutional racism. We know there's systematic racism, and we need to do something about that. But there's also personal responsibility that he talked about with these young men at the end, saying, ultimately, I can get all the philanthropic help for you, all the money in the world for you, but none of it matters unless you do it. You cannot make any more excuses. You have to do what the young man Mo did, that he introduced at the end just before he signed this memorandum. You have to get on that bus every day, regardless of your circumstances, no matter where you live. If you live in the Bronx, where you may live in Compton, whatever it is, you have to do it. But I'm glad he said as well that young black men or young men of color end up at the bottom of the rung for whatever reason, racism, that the dad may not be in the home, they may not have money, whatever it is. It may be their own fault because they don't do the work. But whatever it is, that it needed to be addressed, and he is addressing it. And finally, I think that he is passionate about this particular issue. He mentioned Trayvon Martin. His parents are in the room. Jordan Davis's parents are in the room. He is passionate about this, and by taking this on as an initiative, as he has promised to do even beyond his presidency, he can take the politics out of it. And he doesn't have to worry about some conservative or someone who may be bigoted or racist saying, hey, why don't you do things for white people? You're the president of everybody. We get that. We get that he's the president of everybody, but he also has a responsibility as a black man to help that from which he came, and that's from the black community, and for the people who helped get him in the office and who stood by him the most, and the people who deserve to lose, the people who will lose the most if he doesn't do that, if he doesn't help young black men. They will lose the most because who knows when we will have someone like a President Obama, another man of color in the White House who understands the plight of being a black man in America. It was amazing, it was emotional, and it was the most candid I've seen the president in a while, except for back in July when he spoke during the whole ordeal with Trayvon Martin and with George Zimmerman. I do have to say, though, I do think that changed him, and I also think that meeting with these young men in Chicago changed him as well, because he says, I sat there and I saw myself in them. And you heard him in the press conference now saying, and I told him I got high. I would get high, and I didn't, regardless of the circumstances, I didn't know the circumstances or how it would be a detriment to me. I didn't always take my schoolwork, as seriously as I should have. And I think what struck him is that he had never really spent any time with his father. And when those kids from BAM, that organization in Chicago, the one that Christian is from, the one who introduced him, those men came to the White House. He met with them in February in Chicago. They came back to the White House in July around Father's Day. And unbeknownst to the mentor who brought them here, the kids went out and bought the president a Father's Day card. And they signed it. And they said one of them said to them, or many of them said, I've never signed a Father's Day card in my life. And the president said, I've never signed a Father's Day card in my life as well. And I think that was the moment for him. And I think that's why he's making it his initiative.